So now we're going to talk about probably the main thing that you guys want to talk about. Robert, do you know, do you have a question to ask them about this other than just what it is?
Hey, well, as a matter of fact, just before I came on, I went to check the Kickstarter campaign and to contribute, and I have to say, congratulations, you've already made the goal.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was amazingly
It's
fast.
like,
yeah, it was like 12 hours. Heck yeah.
We've
it,
done a couple Kickstarters before. We did one for an Alexander Petrushko box set that we had
and I
put
think
out.
Pied Piper was like the last was that was about the time you guys came onto my radar. Was the Kickstarter for Pied Piper, I believe. And was that I mean, is this the quickest I guess in terms of response from like any kind of
Well, uh, we normally only do a Kickstarter if there's kind of extraordinary costs associated with either licensing or scanning and restoring a film. We did one for Solomon King, which was the long lost black independent crime action film directed, produced, and starring Sal Watts that he shot in Oakland in 1974. And that helped us cover the enormous costs of scanning, color grading, restoring, and re-releasing the film. And Roy from Space is another one of our, like, we have movies that are kind of obscure. We have different grades of like how lost or semi-lost. Roy from Space is definitely in the kind of furthest out category of lost, which would include Solomon King, in that until we undertook this project, there was no footage available, no trailer, no fourth generation, rip from a VHS tape on YouTube. There were no images apart from a handful of lobby cards and the original one sheet poster. And then, with the help of a Colombian film researcher named Alejandro Vidal, we were able to connect with the daughter of the film's original producer. Her name is Andrea Perez Mata, and he has passed away, but his name is Ulysses Perez Aguirre. And we were able to license the rights, and we were able to access the original 35 millimeter camera negative, which has been stored at the Cineteca Nacional in Mexico. And that's when we knew that this previously lost film could actually be brought back to life. Craig, maybe you want to talk about what we discovered once we actually had the negative scanned. We had a bit of a
Well,
a
that's
secondary surprise.
well, there's also the insanity that we paid for a licensed and paid for a scan of a film we'd never seen.
Yeah, we had
Uh,
no idea what it was like. But I,
yeah.
I, I said to Craig, if we don't do it, who will? No, nobody
Mm,
else is going to
um,
be crazy enough to
so yeah,
license and
so we
scan a entire feature film sight unseen. But I was like, it's called Roy from Space. It's an animated feature that's been lost for 43 years. Like, we got to do it.
yeah, so we licensed the film, we paid for the scan, and then we anxiously awaited the hard drive with the scans to see what the heck this was what we just bought. Um, and as we were looking at it, uh, we found there's about 4.5 minutes of live action material that was cut in, which Dennis, of course, immediately recognized from a Japanese sci-fi feature. Um, and we were like, well, what are we going to do? Because that's clearly not licensed footage. um, so yeah, we were kind of kicking around different ideas of what we could do about it. One of the ideas was to literally just slug in a card that says, shot missing, or like unlicensed footage here. Um, and then I can't remember which one of us had the insane notion of what if we hired some animators to animate those scenes that were cut in. uh, in a similar style to the original film, so we wouldn't have just these, 4.5 minutes of
Mhm.
missing footage. Um, and somehow,
We found actually,
it does seem like everything about this project has been like, why would you do that? And then we did it. Um,
So
so
so yeah,
there's
so we
there
we,
were
we
two.
did found we found two great animators here locally.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just kind of incredible what they were able to do, and they did it all, you know, by hand in a tiny little
wow.
room, just the two of them, very similarly to the very small production that the film was originally.
Yeah.
And it turns out beautiful. And they
Yeah.
even kind of insisted they delivered us the material, um, which they shot, with a digital camera. Um, and I was like, oh, I'll manipulate it so it matches what the film looked like.
Mhm.
And it was literally keeping uh, him up at night that it wasn't what in his mind, what the final deliverable product was, to take that digital footage, output it on film, and then scan that film, and then that would be what would be cut into the movie.
So it
And
had a film look,
so so
film
it, so
grain.
it had a more
Yeah.
so we wouldn't look as digital.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, it was a digital camera, but everything,
Yeah.
all of the animation was all done by hand. It was just shot on a digital camera.
Yeah.
Um, so now we actually have that. We went ahead and we got the footage, output to film, and then that was scanned again. And that's what will ultimately be cut into the film. So it'll match, even, as close as you could possibly get it to match the look and feel of the original animation. Um, and honestly, Dennis was saying he watched it, watched the film in context with the new footage cut in, and it actually does, it plays better than with the live action, because the live action was kind of jarring. It was like, what's going on?
Mhm.
Why
Yeah,
it
I
did.
think they
uh
cut it in, I think, to use as stock footage. Either they didn't have enough time or money to finish the film, or they wanted to make it look like it had bigger production values. But it's really jarring. And we should really, mention that really all of the credit goes to the original director, Hector Lopez Carmona, who has uh, been passed away. He died a number of years ago, but he worked on Roy from Space for 3 years. A lot of the animators were not professional animators; they were amateurs, including members of his own um, family, as well as the producers, son and daughter, who we interviewed, and that'll be on the release.
Mhm.
yeah, I
And they were
actually
and they were
actually
they were
yeah,
teenagers. They were like
yeah,
12 and 16 years old, so probably among the youngest people ever to work as animators on a professional animated feature. So it has a very primitive outsider animation look to it, and it doesn't really obey a lot of the laws or rules that you associate with kind
physics.
of mainstream quality animation, or even like rules of like Western perspective. So you'll see figures moving down a hallway, like there's these kind of robot henchmen throughout the film that speak with a synthesized voice, and their legs are moving, but they don't really connect to the floor, quote unquote, or the walls around them. So it looks like a kind of Alvin Ailey or Merce Cunningham avant-garde dance performance where they're just sort of floating in the air and their arms and legs are bicycling and spinning, and it's incredibly strange and wonderful. I mean, if you love things that are very surreal and kind of outsider art or animation, and that is something that we do, we really love and appreciate. And whether it was entirely intentional or not, I think you can look at it now, from the perspective of 43 years later and say, oh God, this is just a really wonderful film that somehow slipped through the cracks of movie history and deserves to be seen and enjoyed.
Well, just going from this what's on the sampler here, the artwork to me it's very reminiscent of like the filmation shows of the late 60s, early 70s. It's got
Yeah.
that look. I'm really anxious to see uh like what the final product's going will turn out to be. So and
So
yeah, and
yeah, on the Kickstarter page, there's a little video I cobbled together with a few shots from the film, um, and a little excerpt from Dennis's interview, where they do talk about like how incredibly young they were working on the film. So you can see a little bit of the footage, and even a small little clip from the new animation that was done. Um, I should say like that clip is not the finished restoration. The piece with the new animation is not from the film out. It's from the original element they gave us. So it's like a work in progress look at what we're working on.
But I should mention that those very brief shots you're seeing, those are that's the first footage that anyone has seen in the general
Yeah,
public
unless
from
unless
Roy
they
from
yeah,
Space
unless
since
they sat in the theater when it was playing
yeah,
those few
it
days.
screened for about a week in Mexico City in 1983, and it was unfortunately it was a flop. It was a failure at the time, and the director's grandson says he thinks it really broke his grandfather's heart and contributed to his death a couple years later. And in the interview I did with him, he said he remembers after his grandfather died and they were cleaning out his animation studio. This was the only feature film that he was able to make. He had done TV commercials and segments for like feature film title sequences. So he was like a commercial animator, an artist. This was the only feature film he finished. But he said he remembered when they were dumping everything from like the second floor of this old, Spanish style building and just throwing it out the window into a dump truck. And it was all the original animation cells and his animation equipment and cameras. And he said it was just heartbreaking. And so almost nothing survives from the production of Roy from Space, unfortunately. So as far as we know, there are no animation cells from the film. The only thing that was shared with us was concept artwork that Hector Lopez Carmona had created and that his grandson still has. And he did photograph that and share that with us. And we've shared that with the artists who have done the slip covers, both for the exclusive Kickstarter and for the regular release. And Craig, maybe you want to talk about who is the artist for
Yeah, for
the
the Kickstarter, we've got an exclusive slipcover that we're only going to print as many as we need to fulfill the Kickstarter, and it won't be available anywhere else after that. And that's been done by Haley Buck, who is the amazing artist who's been doing all our covers for our Treasures of Soviet Animation series. And so, like Dennis said, uh, she pulled from the film, but it's also the front cover is definitely inspired by that painting by the director that still exists. Um, and then the regular slipcover edition that will be available, we're offering it as a pledge on the Kickstarter, but it will also be available on our website and at a few other retailers when the film releases. We hired Gilbert Hernandez, of Love and Rockets fame, to do that cover. And so he did a black and white ink drawing. And then my good friend Richard Cox, who's contributed a couple of covers for us already for Sirius and Krakatoa, watercolor painted that drawing. So that's the other slipcover that's available. And both of them are beautiful.
That is amazing, and we were hoping that maybe we could help you out with the Kickstarter, but apparently it's not needed. So, congrats on
Well,
kicking.
we're actually going to be continuing the Kickstarter for several weeks to to, we set actually a very low goal, as we had done, I think, in the past for the other ones. And we've already hit it in the first 12 hours, which is great. But obviously, there are a lot of expenses that go into the scanning, restoration, color grade for the film. So we're hoping that it will continue to do well and help offset the costs so that we
Yeah,
can,
the goal set doesn't cover everything.
oh yeah, it's
Um,
it's like a
it's
small
it's
fraction.
it's kind of a normal Kickstarter strategy to set the goal as low as you can, because a lot of people are don't want to support a Kickstarter that hasn't reached its goal, because then it might not happen.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to make sure you can reach the goal.
Yeah.
So you set that as low as possible, and then go from there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
About
like I mean, the key thing for the Kickstarter is the exclusive uh slipcover that you won't be able to get. Like I said, we won't print more than we need for the Kickstarter, and so they won't be available, ever again after that.
Yeah.
I didn't intend to imply that people should not give money. Still give money.
there's so many, amazing crowdfunding campaigns out there. So if you love animation, surreal world animation, and lost movies, this is a great one. About half or more of the films that we restore, and that are released by us are in-house restorations, which means we are usually paying for a brand new scan, often from the camera negative, and then we have to shoulder the costs of the digital restoration, often the audio restoration, color grade, and that's all money that we are paying out of our own pocket up front, just to get the film to the market. So it's great when people are able to help support a project like this that is even more, expensive and complicated than usual.
And
Well, we
I
all
should
have
plug. I want to quickly plug. If you're a fan of our releases in animation, then you are obviously a fan of Bill Plimpton. And there is currently also on Kickstarter a music video that they're trying to raise funds for, that Bill would be animating. So if you've pledged to our Kickstarter while you're there, just go in that search box and search Bill Plimpton and help them out as well, because we're big supporters of Bill, and keep we just recently released Hair High, and a slew of his other films, and hope to keep releasing more of them.
Yeah, we mentioned that one last week. So
Oh, that's great.